Hi, I'm Reb Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the lessons this year, as I have done for several years now, asking Jesus for clarity and then writing from that clarity. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. Looking at lesson 206. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Salvation of the world depends on me. I am entrusted with the gifts of God because I am his son, and I would give his gifts where he intended them to be. I am not a body, I am free, for I'm still as God created me. So how do I save the world, and what are the gifts I give? I save the world by accepting the atonement for myself. I accept the correction for myself. The gifts I give are what is given me: love, appreciation, forgiveness, and gratitude. I'm thrilled to do my part, play my role, and live my purpose. And all along, I am being healed. What I give is given to me. For a long time, I mostly claimed the student role, which was fine because I was mostly a student. But I kept claiming to be a student rather than a teacher because I felt arrogant when I said I was a teacher. I kept myself as small as I could. I claimed to be a minister for God because I'd spent 3 years studying for that role and had the papers to prove it. But all the time, I thought I was being humble. I was just resisting stepping up and taking on the role that was assigned to me. We are being asked to stop playing small and hiding out in our egos. Each of us has a role to play, and it's essential that we do what we came here to do. We don't have to decide for ourselves what that is. It was assigned to us. We don't have to do anything except practice accepting the atonement for our untrue thoughts and beliefs. As our minds are healed, we then share with others the gifts that naturally come with this healing, and our role opens before us. Pretty soon, we're stepping into it without even realizing it. And we're not alone. We have helpers. It's a capital H helpers, divine helpers, who guide us to where to go, who to be with, and what to say and do. Would you be given a role to play without all you needed to succeed? This doesn't have to be anything dramatic. Maybe your neighbor won't keep his dog in his own yard and you have to keep cleaning up his mess. You notice your frustration and ask the Holy Spirit to heal your mind instead of becoming defensive and angry. When you see your neighbor, your mind is clear. You recognize him as part of the Christ mind, and you feel so much love for him that you only want to be helpful. Your mind opens to the Holy Spirit, and the perfect words are said to uplift your neighbor. If something needs to be solved, the words that will solve the problem will be there at the same time. It's a miracle, and you've taken a step to save the world. See, nothing to it. God has given me peace and joy. These attributes are part of me and cannot be lost to me, though they can be ignored. I choose to give them as often as I can. I was at the doctor's office one day and felt gratitude for all the personnel involved in caring for this body. This gratitude extended to feeling love for each person simply because they're part of the family of God and thus a part of myself, my true self. This love showed itself as an interest in them. There were two people at the desk, and one in particular seemed to be not very happy. So I asked her how she was doing today and looked her in the eyes. I waited to hear. I talked to them like they were friends. I asked the nurse how her day was going, and she said she was here. I laughed and said that's something, just showing up is a win. She laughed with me, and we enjoyed our time together. When I left, I didn't need to check out, so I was walking directly to the door, and both of those women at the desk called out to me to have a good day. I'd not heard them do that before. It is a gift to give a little joy wherever you go. There are other ways to give these gifts. Accepting them for myself is the part I need to do, and from me, they flow to where they're needed simply because I'm willing to receive and give. I don't necessarily know where the miracle goes, and that does not matter. I want it for everyone, and that desire is my part in giving it. It's directed by others, capital O, others, to where it is most needed and can be accepted. It is a very efficient way of awakening the sonship. Before I can give something away, I must first have it. That makes sense, and even in this upside down world. If I'm anxious or angry, I can't give love because I can't be in those two states at the same time. So I always work on my thoughts and beliefs, clearing my mind of the blocks to love's presence. When I first became purposeful in surrendering the self, I thought it would be the big stuff that would confound me and was confused about why it was so hard to let go of the little things. I also found it a little scary, and I didn't know why. In my morning meditative writing, I asked the Spirit to help me understand what was going on. And he said, Myron, it's hard for you to understand that there are no minor or major errors in your thinking. Each unhappy thought, each frightening thought is a symbol of the separation from God. You've made decisions before and have experienced the same thing. You are more nervous about this because you recognize that this decision is more encompassing than any you've done before. You also realize that you can do this, and in doing it, you're going to change everything. And I said, Holy Spirit, I want to change everything. I want only peace. I want to be wholly loving. Why am I so afraid? And the Holy Spirit says, precious one, to be wholly loving is to be whole. It is to give up your ego identity. This is to give up nothing, but it's a nothing that you are still strongly identified with. Do not deny this fear, but let it rise to your consciousness and allow yourself to feel it. You will see that fear comes and goes, and you remain unaffected by it. The saying, there is nothing to fear but fear itself, is very true. By allowing yourself to experience the feelings attached to the idea of fear, you will see that it does not destroy you. I am with you, and as you allow the symbols of separation to rise freely in your mind, I will correct them for you. Do not judge the process, and you will not become discouraged. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for everything that happens in your life and to recognize how perfect each thing is. All of the circumstances that seem like problems and that seem bad will now feel like steps toward heaven as you use them to undo the ego in your mind. When ego thoughts arise in your mind, say to yourself that this thought is not loving and so does not belong in my holy mind. Imagine that you pull a weed from your garden each time you do this. Don't judge the weed. Weeds happen in unattended gardens. But now you have noticed that your garden is overgrown with them, and you are removing them so that God's love can express itself through you. So I want to share Regina's tips for this. She said, so far during this review period, we have asked for guidance after noticing that we're caught in the ego perspective. Today, let's put spiritual intuition up front. Instead of waiting to get caught in the ego perspective before asking for guidance, let's ask for guidance all through the day. In other words, instead of getting caught and then asking for help, let's allow guidance to lead us through the day so we don't get caught in ego snares. Let's stay in the heart today with spiritual intuition in the lead. and my thoughts about this. I had to really practice this for a long time. I would start out okay, but would soon be off and running with my old partner, the ego. But now I seldom do that. I'm aware of spiritual intuition as I go through my day. What I'm working at now is reducing the time I spend listening to the chatter in my mind. It's coming along pretty well, but I get impatient with myself sometimes that I'm not doing better. I'm aware of the irony. I'm asking the ego how I'm doing with the practice of ignoring the ego. Well, I thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing this lesson. If you found it helpful, please like it. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with another lesson.